Welcome to the Explainer. Today we're going to dig into something you use pretty much every single day without even thinking about it. Plurals. It seems so simple, right? You just tack on an S and you're good to go. But, oh man, behind that one little rule, there's this whole hidden world of crazy history and really surprising exceptions. All right, so let's just jump right in with a question. It seems pretty straightforward, but it actually tells us a ton about English. So, if you have one mongoose, what do you call two of them? Go on, give it a thought. So here's what we've got on tap. We'll start with this plural puzzle, then hit the basic S rule. After that, we'll get into some cool Old English stuff, the Zero Plural Club, and words from other languages. And we'll wrap it all up by talking about how language is basically alive. All right, first up, the plural puzzle. Let's get into why making a word plural is, well, it's not always just about adding that S. It's this whole system built on rules, sure, but also tons of layers of history. So, did you get it? The answer is mongooses. Now, if you thought mongoose, you're not alone. And you weren't really wrong, you were just doing what our brains do best. You were spotting a pattern, right? Just like goose becomes geese, that's called analogy, and it's a super powerful force in how we talk, even if it leads us down the wrong path sometimes. Okay, so let's get back to basics and talk about the most common rule out there. This is the one that covers, almost all English nouns. It's really the foundation of how we do plurals, and it all comes down to sound. So the whole point of these rules is just to make the words easy to say. For most things, yeah, you just add that S sound. But think about it. If a word already ends in a hissy sound, like S, S, H, CH, what the experts call a sibilant, it's kind of awkward to just add another S. Try saying witches. Doesn't work, right? That's why we add that extra syllable, ES, to make it witches. It just flows better. Same idea with words like cherry becoming cherries. And you can see it right here. Cat becomes cats. Easy peasy. Witch, like we said, gets that ES for witches. Cherry does the whole Y to IES thing. But, and here's a little twist, look at boy. Because there's a vowel right before the Y, it just gets a normal S. And the amazing thing is we do all this stuff, all these little calculations, totally automatically. Okay, now for the fun part. Let's start digging into the weird exceptions. And what's so cool is that a lot of these so-called irregular plurals, they're not random at all. They're basically little time capsules, linguistic fossils, you could say, left over from a much older version of English. Yeah, these are what you might call mutated plurals, and they are literally pieces of history. So way back in Old English, hundreds of years ago, you'd add an ending to make something plural. But for some words, adding that ending also made the vowel sound in the middle of the word change. And here's the crazy part. Over time, the ending dropped off, but that changed vowel, it stuck around. That became the new way to show it was plural. Look at these classic examples. Man to men, foot to feet. That vowel change in the middle is the plural. And see, this is that exact same ancient pattern that makes your brain want to say mongoose. It's a deep-seated instinct. And it wasn't only vowel changes either. Old English had another trick up its sleeve, the N ending. Now, this rule is almost completely gone today, but it survived in a few really common words we still use. Think ox to oxen or child to children. You also see it in brethren, but that one's a bit more old-fashioned, usually for formal groups or in church. Okay, let's peel back another layer of weirdness. There's this special club of words where the singular and the plural are exactly the same. No change at all. It's called a zero plural. It's a pretty strange club for sure, but a lot of words are members. You've got one sheep, you've got two sheep. One deer, a whole bunch of deer. You see this pattern a lot with animal names, especially animals that people would hunt or herd. It also pops up in words like series and species, which actually came from Latin already behaving this way. But why? Why do these words do this? Well, here's a really cool theory from a linguist named Eric Partridge. He called them, get this, snob plurals. His idea was that this was kind of like special slang for the upper-class hunting crowd. So next time you say, I saw 3 deer, just know you might be accidentally channeling the ghost of some old-timey aristocrat. English is a total thief. It steals words from languages all over the world. And the thing is, when it borrows a noun, it often grabs the plural rule right along with it. And that gives us a whole other pile of irregular plurals to deal with. A ton of our fancy academic and science words come from Latin and Greek, and they often stick to their original rules. So a word ending in us goes to I, like alumnus becomes alumni, or datum becomes data. Crisis becomes crises. To us, they feel totally irregular, but back in Latin or Greek, perfectly normal. And it's not just Latin and Greek. We see this everywhere. From French, beau becomes beaux. From Italian, cello becomes celli. Even from Hebrew, cherub becomes cherubim. Every single one of these is like a little breadcrumb tracing English's journey across the globe. But wait, here's the twist. Over time, there's this really powerful counterforce at play. It's called anglicization. Basically, it's the process where these foreign words start to, well, act more English. And that usually means dropping their old plural and just adding a good old-fashioned S. And this is where things get really interesting, because you end up with two different plurals competing with each other. Is it appendices or appendixes? Antennae or antennas? And a lot of the time, the right answer just depends on who you're talking to. Like a bug scientist will talk about insect antennae, but a TV repair person installs antennas. Both are totally correct. It's a perfect snapshot of a language that's in the middle of changing. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that language isn't some dusty old rule book. It's a living thing. It's constantly being shaped and changed by us, the people who actually speak it every single day. I mean, just look at the word data. Okay, so technically it's the plural of datum, and for a long, long time, grammar nerds would insist you had to say the data are clear. But come on, who says that now? Almost everyone says the data is clear, treating it like one big thing, like information. And that's not a mistake, that's evolution happening in real time. Which brings us to the big question, right? Who actually gets to decide the rules? And this quote really hits the nail on the head. It's not about what some old textbook says. It's not about pure logic. It's not even just about what most people say right now. In the end, it's all of us, the speakers, who decide what's correct by how we use the language over time. So from mongooses to data, it's pretty clear that our rules for plurals are this wild mix of logic, history, and just pure chance. And since we know language is always changing, it really makes you wonder, what rule that we think is set in stone today is going to seem totally ancient in 100 years?